3 weeks ago, another part of the diocese, the Fulani headsmen killed about 11. They go on their bikes and they take the community or the village by surprise, most of the time in the night. And they started shooting, setting houses ablaze.
I was sleeping in my house with my family. My wife woke me up. There are about 20 in number, and every one of them got half a gun. They demanded that if my family didn't produce 6 million naira, they are going to kill me there.
2 of my priests and 17 worshippers were murdered in the morning mass. Between 20, I have lost 15 parishes, and there are killings every day.
The cries of Nigeria's persecuted Christians are growing louder. While persecution is not new to this region, the suffering has intensified, and the communities enduring it are all too often left without the support or voice they need. This is what compelled us at Solidarity with the Persecuted Church to travel to Nigeria. Nigeria is a fascinating country. It's already the most populous in Africa. It's number 6 in the world, and it's on its way to becoming the number 3 country by population in 2050. It's a country in which more Christians have been martyred for their faith than in any other in the world. Upon arriving in Abuja, the capital of Nigeria, our first goal was to listen, to learn directly from those living the reality on the ground. We met with leaders from across Christian denominations, including clergy and lay experts. Many of those with whom we spoke said the Nigerian government has the capacity to address this crisis, if only it chose to do so.
The Nigerian government has a capacity, but because of the complacency of the people and everybody, they're not interested. Unfortunately, people are dying. And you see your people dying and nobody talks. And then you want me to keep quiet?
I'm quite nervous about this whole thing about Christians and Christianity as an identity, or is the religious identity. And this meeting we had with the Minister of Foreign Affairs is to explain to them that, look, we need you to resolve these issues. I'm also making a point that in Nigeria, we are the most educated. And without Christians, there would literally be no Nigeria.
Better understand what displaced Christians are facing, we traveled a few hours from Abuja to Benue State, one of the most dangerous places in Nigeria. There we met Father Remy, who brought us to the Ortizi internally displaced persons camp. Many of the families we spoke with had been there for years. The conditions were appalling. Rows of tarp-covered huts baking under the brutal sun. No well for clean water. How many people are you serving here?
We have 13,560 IDPs.
Say again?
13,000.
13,000. Wow, that's huge.
It
says that the herders came in and killed everybody.
And where was your village?
20
miles.
Okay, 20 miles from this place.
20 miles?
The experience of this man is not peculiar to him.
Okay.
As it is with the majority of the people are here have had their family members killed.
Yes. A few days later, we visited another IDP camp on the outskirts of Abuja. Like Orteze, the situation was desperate. We brought a small gift of food, and though it was simple, it was received with great gratitude that we'll never forget. We are now at a camp for internally displaced persons here on the outskirts of Abuja. These are people who have fled mostly the violence of Boko Haram in the northeast of Nigeria. If you look at a map, that is a long distance that they have fled from towns like Maiduguri and Yola to come here. This camp has been in operation for 10 years, so some of these people have been here for quite a while, and of course the thing that they want most is to go home. Later in our journey, we traveled to Kaduna State, a region where hundreds of thousands of Christians have been forced to flee in recent years.
Boko Haram kidnaps, Boko Haram kills, Boko Haram collect ransom, Boko Haram makes sure that some villages are off the map. The same thing the Fulani headsmen do. And They don't want Western education because that's the meaning of Boko Haram in Hausa. Yes. Western education is an abomination. So when you look at the level of attacks on some of our schools, you begin to ask yourself what is going on. But in Kaduna State, it's not Boko Haram that started first. It is the Fulani herdsmen. But this one is the poorest of the poor that is being attacked on a daily basis. His mode of livelihood is being destroyed. His ancestral land is being taken away from him. He is left landless, hopeless. So you can imagine the quantum of trauma. And there is no trauma centers anywhere. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
While in Kaduna, we spoke with dozens of victims who bravely shared their harrowing stories of kidnapping, loss, survival, and yet unshakable faith.
We was kidnapped on 1st June last year. As we went there, they kidnapped us with my mother. We spent 2 days working without eating, without drinking. They used to beat us. So they will say that they are going to kill us, but to the glory of God, we are safe.
What I understand, based on our kidnapping, their ultimate goal is to kidnap the Christian. They will kill me if they kidnap me again. What I have is to serve the Lord. Because of this instance, before I didn't value what I have, I'm hearing a voice. If you deny me in the presence of this, I'll deny you in the presence of my Father. Yes. This kept me from the beginning to the end, and I survived the temptation. So I am very grateful, and I don't afraid of death. As you see me, I don't afraid of, I'm even ready to die. If it is because of Jesus, I'm dying here.
Watching the strength of Nigeria's Christians, I found my own faith challenged and ultimately deepened. While in Nigeria, we identified 3 projects that we're currently raising money for so that we can implement them as quickly as possible. Our first project is to provide medical equipment for a clinic in the Diocese of Sokoto in the far northwest corner of Nigeria. The Bishop of Sokoto is Matthew Kuka. Sokoto is majority Muslim and it lives under Sharia law, but the Christian presence is strong. Bishop Kuka is building this medical facility so that he can serve everyone, Muslims and Christians.
We have a small clinic, we have is just about 8 or 9 beds. One day, a group of Christian medical doctors from the local university teaching hospital came to me and they said, look, we'd like to do a medical outreach. I said, look, sickness has no religion. This is an opportunity for us to open the door to everybody. Let's just say we'll help anybody who comes. So I showed up at about 9 o'clock. I couldn't get a place to put my foot. People had called their relatives across the states and people had traveled from everywhere. In fact, one of the things that gave me the energy was, so this guy had a tumor. Young boy, he's about maybe 22, 23. So I went and saw him and he was on his bed. And I asked him how he was feeling. He said to me, look, I lack the words to tell you what I'm feeling now. This is the first time I'm coming in contact with somebody who is a Christian and the facility. And nobody asked me where I was from. Nobody spoke to me about whether I'm a Christian or a Muslim.
Our second project is to help the communities defend themselves against attack by the Fulani jihadists. We're looking at fences, detectors, communications equipment, which are urgently needed to give the villagers advance warning of attacks and to help them defend themselves. Our third project is to drill a well at the Ortizi IDP camp so that the women and children don't have to hike miles to get their fresh water. You know, we've seen in other places what a dramatic difference fresh water can do for the quality of life of people who are forced to live in camps such as this. It can be dramatic. If you'd like to join with SPC in our efforts to serve the Christians of Nigeria who are suffering this terrible persecution we've described, please consider making a donation that will support the projects I've just told you about. Any amount of money you feel you're able to contribute will certainly help make a difference in the lives of these struggling Christians.
I teach my people to hold on to 2 verses of the Bible. Philippians 1:21. For me to live is Christ, and to die for Christ is gain. Because if you are being killed, they are not killing you for anything. They are killing you for Christ. And then Galatians 2:20. I'm crucified with Christ. Nevertheless I live, yet not I. It is Christ that is the one that is living in me. The life I now live in the flesh, I live by the grace of the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. We live under grace every day.